Hello, my favorite English language learners. It is your favorite English teacher here, Amy Joy, and in today's video, I am going to help you get better grades on your college writing assignments. I am a writing instructor at a university, and I work with English language learners to improve their academic writing skills. So in today's video, I am going to give you 5 expressions that will dramatically improve your writing. So in my classes, one idea that I talk about with my students are the concepts of knowledge display versus knowledge transformation. And according to writing researchers Silvia, Pessoa, and Thomas Mitchell, knowledge display is simply repeating back facts, maybe giving definitions, telling a story, or repeating back facts from your instructor's lecture. So when you are performing knowledge display, you are just repeating back information. However, university professors often want students to engage in what we call knowledge transformation. Knowledge transformation means that you are using your class material for your own purpose. Maybe your instructor wants you to apply a certain key concept from your course to a new real-life situation. Or they want you to use multiple readings and combine them to create an argument of your own. Oftentimes, university professors want you to think critically and actually use and apply what they are teaching rather than just repeating back information to them. But oftentimes, non-native English speakers and even native English speakers have trouble engaging in knowledge transformation. So if you've gotten some low grades on your college papers, it might be because you are simply repeating back facts rather than engaging in knowledge transformation. And in today's video, I am going to give you 5 academic expressions to perform knowledge transformation. These 5 expressions are: 1, can be seen or observed in. 2, exemplifies. 3, is a good example of. 4, reflects. And 5, relates to the concept of X, in, that, and then a clause. Now, let's take a look at a few examples to see how you can use these in your writing to perform knowledge transformation. Let's go. So, like I said, oftentimes university professors want you to use the concepts from your class and be able to apply them to new situations or real life, instead of just repeating back what they said in their lecture or what you read in the textbook. So here's a sample university prompt. It says, use the theory of supply and demand to explain the difference of prices of cannabis in different parts of the US. So notice the word use. This means basically apply. So we want to see your ability to use that knowledge in a new situation. Now my students say, okay, I know I need to perform knowledge transformation, but how exactly do I do that? Well, here we have our 5 expressions to move from knowledge display to knowledge transformation. So let's see how we can do this. I am going to read you the full response, and then we will focus on how our expressions can help us achieve knowledge transformation. So here is our full response. We say, the theory of supply and demand states that when there is more of a commodity or product than what is needed, it will be cheaper. However, if the commodity or product is scarce and highly desirable, it will cost more. This theory can be seen or observed in Oregon, where the amount of cannabis has recently increased due to a lack of government regulations. In this instance, farmers grew large amounts of cannabis because there were no restrictions. However, the demand for cannabis in Oregon has remained relatively the same, so now the prices have dropped. Basically, the increase in production and the stability of demand resulted in prices decreasing. In contrast, some states like Montana are experiencing the opposite. With a new law allowing the use of medicinal marijuana, there is higher demand. But since many statewide growing regulations remain in place, the supply has not kept up with the demand, leading to prices of cannabis to rise. So that is the whole response, and I really want to focus on the first 2 parts. So the yellow part says, the theory of supply and demand states that when there is more of a commodity or product than what is needed, it will be cheaper. However, if the commodity or product is scarce and highly desirable, it will cost more. This yellow part is simply knowledge display. You are repeating back the definition of supply and demand. This is a really good start, but if you just continue by giving a definition, then you won't be performing knowledge transformation. So let's take a look at the blue part to see how we move from knowledge display to knowledge transformation. It says, this theory can be seen or observed in Oregon, where the amount of cannabis has recently increased due to a lack of government regulations. In this instance, farmers grew large amounts of cannabis because there were no restrictions. So this blue part really gets us going into our example and the application of the key concept to our new situation. So let's take a look at our expressions and see how language can help us achieve knowledge transformation. Okay, expression number 1. This concept or theory can be seen or observed in. So in our example, we said, this theory can be seen or observed in Oregon, where the amount of cannabis has recently increased due to a lack of government regulations. So you'll notice that I started this sentence with the phrase, this concept or this theory. And depending on your subject or depending on the class you are writing for, different nouns might be more appropriate in this place. For example, in art history, you might actually be referring to painting techniques, not a theory. So you could actually say, this technique can be observed in Van Gogh's painting, Starry Night. Or if you're in a business class, you might be talking about strategies, not theories. So you can say, this strategy can be observed in Apple's approach to consumer-generated content. Or in a theater class, you might be talking about acting methods, not necessarily theories. So you can say, this method can be seen observed in the third act, during which the protagonist speaks to the audience. So what I really want you to focus on is connecting your concept, your theory, what you're learning from the class, to the example you are going to discuss. Let's take a look at our second expression. My students really love this word, and I love it too. It is exemplified. This is a verb form of example, and it can be really useful when transitioning from a definition to the example you are going to analyze or apply your course concept to. So in our example, we said, the story of, or the example of, or the situation in Oregon exemplifies this concept or theory. Then you will go on to discuss your example and highlight the details that reflect the theory. And moving on to expression 3, we have the situation of, the story of, or what happened in X is a good example of this theory or this concept. So in our example, we say, the situation of, the story of, or what happened in Oregon is a good example of this theory or this concept. Okay, and before we move on to our next expression, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel so the YouTube algorithm will send my videos to more students. I really appreciate it. Then moving on to expression 4, we have the word reflects. And in our example, we say, the example or situation of Oregon reflects this theory. And number 5 is fairly complex, but it says, relates to the concepts of X in that, and then a clause. So in our example, we say, the situation in Oregon relates to the concept of supply and demand in that prices of cannabis went down as supply increased. Now, you might not be familiar with in that clauses, so I'm going to give you some more examples related to other subjects. So let's take a look. Okay, so the grammar construction of this expression is absolutely insane. So I'm going to try and break it down a little bit for you. The word in is a preposition. Prepositions are followed by nouns or noun clauses. And if you don't know what a noun clause is, you can click the link above. I have a whole video about them. But basically, a noun clause is a question word or the word that, followed by a subject and a verb. So let's take a look at some examples. Let's say we're in art history and we write, The impasto technique can be seen in Van Gogh's painting Starry Night, in that he directly applied the paint onto the canvas and then mixed the colors, opposed to mixing them on his palette. So we have the word in that, he is your subject, and then directly applied is your verb. So we mention the technique and then we say how it was used. And that is accomplishing knowledge transformation. Let's take a look at our business example. So we're going to use the word strategy here. Apple's approach to consumer-generated content relates to this strategy, in that Apple uses photographers' iPhone photos as their main billboard advertisements. So we have relates to this strategy, in that, and then what they did that used the key term from your class. So in that, Apple is your subject, uses is the verb, photographers' iPhone photos as their main billboard advertisements. So again, the goal of knowledge transformation is to take your course term or your course concept or whatever you're applying and then use it in the same sentence as what you're applying it to. We really want to see that integration of the course concept with the example you're talking about. Let's take a look at the third example. So again, we're in a theater class and we're talking about acting methods. We say, the third act exemplifies this method in that the protagonist speaks directly to the audience. We have the preposition in, we have the question word that, the protagonist is the subject, and speaks is the verb. So again, we have this method and then exactly how it's being applied to the situation. Of course, you will have to expand and give some details following this sentence, just like in the full example that I gave you at the beginning. But what I notice with my students is that they really struggle to get from the definition of the key term into the example and directly applying the key term to the example itself, which is what knowledge transformation is. So I really hope these expressions help you. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these, or if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you like it and subscribe to my channel so that YouTube will send my videos to even more students. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something new, and I will see you next time. Bye.